teachers that I wouldn't want a gun.
Yeah.
But the issue is if you only have a single armed guard, they're just target number one during a shooting.
Yeah.
You shoot them in the back of the head when you start, and then you start moving out to the innocents once they can't defend themselves.
There's a limit to the amount of money and expense that we can give to police,
that's also you give them all the money in the world, and if they're not prepared psychologically to do what needs to be done,
I don't think it's reasonable to ask them to be prepared psychologically, right?
That's their duty as a protection officer of the public.
Actually, that's not true. Police officers are not like sheriffs,
licensed
and they literally have no moral obligation.
And
moral obligation is different, but they have no legal obligation.
They have no legal.
Come in and save you. Which is another reason why you should own a gun, because police officers all across the country have no obligation to actually respond to the calls that they're called to. And even when they get there, they have no obligation to actually stop the threat. Legally, they cannot be held.
Oh, it happens all the time in New York.
Exactly. Like, they're not legally... if they're like, okay, I'm scared, they have no legal obligation
now,
to actually go.
I also don't think someone should be forced under threat of death. Like, if you're terrified because you're about to die... We're not going to force you to kill yourself running into the line of duty, right? That's a big part of why there are so many veterans with psychological issues. During military conflicts, there have been a lot of psychological studies that show that soldiers don't want to kill people. Most people don't want to kill people.
Oh, yeah, a lot of the times
they shoot overhead. They try and scare people away. Please, please, please go away. I don't want to kill you.
Yeah, it's unreasonable to expect anybody to behave as we would expect them to have with this duty that we foisted upon them.
But that's if your whole purpose in a society, it's like psychologically, it is hard to take a weapon and kill someone.
Yeah.
People
especially
just
when you're raised to not do that and be a good person and be good to yeah.
But
it's switching from that to just murder this person.
But it's not illegal. It's not a legal obligation for a fireman to go put out a fire either. But socially, we need these services, and if there is a murderer, someone has to stop that person.
I think it's a lot easier to go and put out a fire than it is to kill somebody.
I wanted to get you guys' views on do you think? Well, you kind of already answered it. Do you think how we've put blame on cops has made things harder for them to get involved in cases like Uvalde?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, especially if every little thing that you do is going to be criticized.
It's like litigious and will get challenged in court.
What happened in Uvalde? That was just prime cowardice. I mean, they were scared for their own lives, and they didn't want to go in there and face the threat because they were like, if I go in there, I could die. Which is reasonable and understandable, but at the end of the day, you're the people that they called because they don't have guns.
Now, how do you feel about that with what you just said about officers not having an obligation to?
I think that realistically, psychologically, putting yourself in the line to die to save others is an honorable trait that not everyone has. Mm-hmm. And I think you can be trained all day and all night, and you will not know which you are until you are actually in the moment. And I think that, it is not reasonable that we should expect that every police officer is willing to throw down and risk their life to save the lives of people. But if you're not willing to save the lives of innocent school children, then whose lives are you willing to save?